Hey y'all, it's April the 27th. It's been a while since I put up a video, but didn't really have anything for you until now. As I said, here's Todd. I kind of blacked everything out for you, buddy, so you're basically anonymous. $320. Todd was one of a weekend participants for the test day that didn't manifest itself. I watched the. We're gonna burn it right here. I watched the Greg Wright and T.J. Hollingsworth podcast thingy that they had on their monthly thing was on yesterday or something, and Greg made an observation and about this test day thing. How did he put it? Crashed and burned, so to speak. And T.J. said his understanding was that the people that he saw post about it or talk about it mentioned that they thought it was too much money. And when he also mentions in that video that he met me by coming up and running a test day in April a few years ago. It was actually, I think, the first time he'd run a shifter cart. He bought a shifter cart, and it was the first time he run it, so it was on a big track and what have you. But if I remember correctly, TJ didn't stay all day. As a matter of fact, I think he ran for a bit and something broke or something failed, and instead of maybe he just thought it was something that was beyond fixing it to track. The nice thing about these test days is the majority of guys there are CIK shifter guys, and they all bend over backwards to practically give you half their cart in spare parts if they have them, just so you can continue to run. It's completely different than a race weekend. Generally we get minus an hour for lunch, 7 hours of track time for a couple $100. Anywhere, it used to be 175. We're up to this spring 220 because everything went up. Greg did make one observation that was absolutely truthful, is I only do this because I love the sport. I love the hobby. It's what I've been doing my whole life since I was a kid. And if there was money to be made in it, I think everybody would be trying to do it. There's literally no money to be made. We have to keep these closed test days to a small number, which gives you a large amount of open track. If you are a competitive person that wants to test back-to-back in real time different parts and pieces and what have you and compare data, it's the only way you can do it. You cannot do it at a racing weekend. 8-minute practice sessions are hardly enough time to get your tires warm. They're probably not even up to full temperature. I don't care, where you're at. So needing 20-minute long straight runs or 15-minute long straight runs with no interruption, and then being able to come in and instantly change something, all four wheels off, this whole set of different tires on, different diameters, different sizes, whatever, and go right back out and test it in the same kind of conditions, wind, temperature, everything. You don't get that. You just don't get it. You can do it maybe in your half-hour race, but most guys that show up to an event to race are there to race. They're not there to make pit stops and test. That's awful expensive testing, too. 130, 40, $50 now when you show up at the track to enter, and you get 30 minutes or 45, depending on what kind of class you're going to run. Me personally, that's not a great value. When you could spend another $50 and spend $200 and have 7 hours of track time with only 19 other guys at the most. Now, the reason it costs the amount of money it does, between 175 and this spring 220, is because we're held to a small amount of people. If we could attract 100 people, could we make it cheaper? Maybe. I can't even say for sure that we could, because as the number of participants go up, the management of the track charges us more money. Why? You say, why? If you put on a race weekend and there's 300 people there, they pay X amount of dollars to rent the track, because a race weekend is different than a closed private test. It costs the track a different level of financial investment for insurance, because it's not a competition. It's not labeled a competition. Their insurance liability is less, believe it or not. So some of those factors come into play. And the more people you put on the track, the more likelihood that somebody's going to need some insurance. So that's that. You know, guys like Todd. Todd's a regular. He comes out spring and fall. Jerry Reevely as well. I could go on and on and on. The Barth brothers, I mean, the whole family over there, Ted Stefke. I could just sit here and mention names left and right. These are all regular guys. How come all these guys did eventually send me a check? It just wasn't enough. And the rest of the group, that hemmed and hawed, looked at the weather, decided an extra $20 more than they paid last year or whatever was too much money. I don't believe that was the case at all. It wasn't about money. I think what we're seeing this year, we're going to see a bunch of races, events with multiple organizations tied to them together. A lot of people initially are looking at that saying, this is great, you know, this group will bring their people, this group will bring their people, and we'll all together, and there'll be this great big group. I don't think you're going to see that. I don't think you're going to see everybody that runs XYZ series come and run this ABC, XYZ, DEF all together at the same time. Look at myself. Look at what we're going through here. Whether the April test day happened or not, I wasn't going to be able to drive a go-kart because of a doctor visit. So, you know, it's just bad luck. It happens. You know, those kind of things happen. And I think what we're seeing here with this test day, this is the first time, by the way, we have not, and somebody has not held what we used to call spring training. We used to get a lot of 250s and most 125 CIK shifters. Actually, at one time, we were mostly 250s and some laydowns. But we don't have the competitive people. The number of people who are there to truly compete, not just to win a trophy, but to race the track, to settle a lap time that'll stand for a long time, whatever their motivation might be, we don't have that number of dedicated competitive people anymore. And I'm one of them. I've told people straight out, I don't enjoy the racing events anymore. The stress of having to listen, and am I ready, fill it up, the air in the tires, and you know, the heart's pounding, and are we going to be late? Are we going to get there on time? Are we going to miss the call? You know, on a test day, you come and go when you want, as often as you want, unless it's lunchtime. So, as for the Real Racing podcast guys, like Greg said, he didn't intend on coming. He's never done one. TJ did one, didn't make it till lunchtime, I don't think. He might have left at lunch or before lunch was over. But he didn't spend the whole day, so he didn't really get the full effect of a small group of people having a full-size, full-blown road course all to themselves for a full 7 hours. I guarantee you, if he drove as many laps as he possibly could have in 7 hours without any issues, he'd still be telling people about the boner he had at the end of the day driving back to Indianapolis. Because I'm telling you, you'll get a ton of laps. Mark Horn will attest to that. He'll tell you, little Kevin, his driver, probably worn out by the time they were done. They did, I think it was 3 years ago, 3 years ago, when they were building their new chassis. They brought a prototype that they could adjust constantly to the track. And those guys, I don't know how many gallons of gas and oil they burned, but they did more laps than anybody else there in a Yamaha laydown. There were times when they just kept going and going. I think they only stopped because they may have needed to fill up on more fuel. So he told me straight up, Robert, it would have took us probably maybe 6 weekends to get that many laps, not just to get that much time all condensed together. So is $220 too much for you and 19 of your buddies to have a full-blown 2-mile road course, one of the tracks we people race on in this region, and consider to be a true driving racetrack? Is it too much money? I don't know, man. That's only you can make that call. I don't think so. We're gonna move on before I end the video here to Greg mentioned the MIS thing, and just let me say that I'm still talking with those folks. They're getting into their season of lease and rental time, and I mean, they got concerts going on out there. They got all kinds of stuff going on besides the racetrack. They lease the grounds. There's all kinds of things that need to be moved in and moved out that aren't just They're on wheels, and we move them in. They got to put up that great big stage and all that BS for that country western faster horses thing. 3-4 days of concert, drinking, drunks, walking around. God knows what they're doing out there. So that isn't a 5-minute job that you set it up and let it turn it loose and then, tear it down and gets out of there. They could lose probably a good 10 days, before, during, and after cleaning that joint up. I mean, there's a whole bunch of humanity out there sleeping out there partying like it's Woodstock for days. So I'm still talking to them, and my intention is to do the oval only test. The only issue we have, and the issue that concerns me, is it's an ISC speedway. And what that means for you at home is to sign a contract with ISC. They give you a date. We got a date, right? Most of you know about the date. If I call, say I say, I'm ready to come out and sign a contract and do whatever. They're gonna want, when I come out and sign the contract, they want 50% of the rental, the lease, down right there. And then it's on like Donkey Kong. Come rain, snow, sleet, whatever happens, earthquake, earth splits apart, you lost half of your money. And then they're going to want the other half 30 days before the event. So you see the problem I have, right? I'm just a dude in his garage now with a doctor that doesn't want me driving this go-kart or doing much of anything else. So I would, to answer Greg, is this thing still on, and to get a hold of him, if I can find people who are willing to put up or shut up, put some money down, send me some dough, and say I'm in because here's my money, then I would go ahead and go out on a limb and invest the money to pay for the track. But that's going to be even more expensive than a Grattan rental. Like Todd had here, $320 for 2 days. It's probably going to cost every bit of that much just for the 8-hour day per person. Probably, I'm going to guess, say $300 to $350. Because although it's an attractive thing to do, run around an oval and see how fast you can go, especially for guys with fast go-karts that are built for speed, you're still not going to get 50 or 100 people to do it. So you got to jack the price up to be able to cover the cost of everything. So there you go. That's where we stand with all the track day stuff. I went 2 days ago and had about 40. I stopped counting at about 40 vacuum tubes of blood that the hematologist took. They're testing. They're doing a bunch of tests. They're going to find out why I'm clotting and what's going on, or they're going to try to. And then, in 2 weeks, I find out whether I'm going to be on this medication forever and racing go-karts is done for me, or if there's a chance that I could possibly get off the medication and be able to go back to a halfway normal life. Otherwise, that's why nothing has been happening out here. I'm going to bring you over, shut the camera off in a minute. I'm going to bring you over and show you how I mounted up these fuel tanks. I got everything I need to, all the cooling systems done, the scoops done. I have the new tanks, the fittings. I have everything I need. Everything got mocked up with old tanks, the mounting system to put the Margay tanks on the cart. So I'm going to go ahead and finish it one of these days. I haven't really been motivated to get out here. I'm not walking around pouting, feeling sorry for myself, but I mean, it is kind of a bummer that we can't drive the go-kart. I'm signing off here. I've had a few people ask me, what are you going to do with the go-kart? Are you going to try and sell it? You're going to do this? You're going to do that? You're going to get rid of it? And the answer to all that is no, 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 and no. I won't give that go-kart away to nobody. I've made that mistake a million times over the years. I wish I had my Ardell engine back. I wish I had a couple of those OK88s back, the good ones that we had. I wish I had a Hartman axle clutch just to have, just to play with, just to put on the wall. When you get rid of that stuff, you think you need to get rid of it because the great amount of money you're going to make from selling it is going to buy you the new piece that you need, and it never works that way. I think if and when we got rid of those Hartman axle clutches, we'd be lucky if we got $100 a piece for them. Now, this day and age, 2019, you could probably get a couple $100 or maybe more. And it certainly didn't put a dent in the cost of a new Horseman axle clutch at that time. So it is what it is. I'm not gonna. I'll screw that go-kart to the wall. I'll drain the fluid out of it and I'll screw it right to the wall. But I'm not giving it to nobody for pennies on the dollar. If I've already taken a loss, then we already know that, right? Getting into go-karts. Pops Rivoli knows what I'm talking about. They've kept every nut and bolt they've ever bought, let alone engine, carburetor, exhaust pipe, wheels, tires, hubs, rotors, you name it. Get a hold of Pops Rivoli, man. When I tell you, Junior, you're going to have your hands full when Pop ends up going home for the final last time. And I'll tell you, there's going to be a garage sale to end all garage sales over there at Junior's house. So I don't wish that on nobody. Love you, Pop. I get it. I should have done the same thing and held on to most of my stuff too, but we didn't do it. So that's where we're at. I'm going to shut down now, and I'll bring you a little fuel tank setup here in just a minute. God bless y'all. Godspeed. Hang in there. Pray for me. 2 weeks, we find out what's going on with the blood. Hopefully, maybe I'll be able to, maybe Mid-Ohio. Maybe Mid-Ohio. You never know. So we'll see. Until then, till next time, God bless y'all.